Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage number 34-305. This is a number 5 bottom pin, genuine Schlage pin. This is obviously a piece of equipment used in rekeying Schlage cylinders. Sold as a pack of 100. When you buy one, you are getting literally a package of 100. That's the way that Schlage sells their pins. And likely there are other items. There are other types of pins and their springs, I believe. And here's what that pin looks like. Now, obviously, you're not going to see too much of it on the camera. But the important part of the Schlage pin is if you look at the very tip, it's not a point. It's flattened off. If you were to look at the top of the pin, and while it's all but impossible to detect, actually I would say that it is, it's not perfectly flat. The diameter of the pin, actually you can see it really well when you look at the top, the way that the light is reflected. That top of that pin is certainly not flat. It has a radius to it, and I would say that that radius would be a 1/4 inch, or nominally a 1/4 inch. The pin diameter, the pin length, the degree of the point. The angle at the bottom, that's all specific to Schlage. Maybe it's not unique, but that's all of these dimensions conspire to mean Schlage's system, okay? And that's all very important. Now, below this video is a link to a document called Key Bidding Specifications, and that page is incredibly indispensable. Certainly if you're a locksmith, it's incredibly indispensable. But if you're not, and the client that I'm selling a whole mess of pins to, he's not a locksmith. He just has a moderate-sized facility that he personally maintains. He has the ability and the tools and the knowledge and the experience to rekey locks himself, but is by no means a locksmith and does not require any of this information that's on the key bidding specification, because he buys original equipment, original pins. He's got the tools, and there's only a handful that you really need, and the knowledge, and he's happy. However, we can use the key bidding specification to fully demonstrate why you would want original equipment. The reasons I mentioned earlier pertaining to its dimensional properties. I've got a universal pin kit back here that's capable of working lots of different key systems, because there is certain commonality between lots of conventional cylinders made by many different companies. And that kit is tolerant of working in many of them because it's been homogenized. Not so that it's not effective, it's incredibly effective. That kit personally is over 20 years old, and I've been using the same plug follower for the same amount of time, and it works with success 100% of the time. However, it does not work as smoothly as it would if I were working with Schlage original equipment on Schlage original products and a Schlage pin kit. So the decision is having a universal kit is handy because it does allow you to replace 10 other pin kits. And pin kits are not inexpensive at all. So the one that I do a lot of damage with is that. I get a lot of different work done, and I have a mini version of it as well that I can use and have used in the past to go to a job site. I only need to key 10 cylinders, so I don't need to lug around, 85 different pins. The key bidding specification page allows us to look at the dimensional properties, namely the 100-degree point of the cut of the key, the .031 width of the plateau conspire to be to what would be required on the bottom of the pin down here. The effective plug diameter, I don't know if it's listed on that page, but for Schlage it is 0.5 inch. The effective plug diameter, and the plug is round, right? So that 0.5 is going to require a certain crowning to this pin. That .031 plateau on the key cut is related to what needs to happen on the bottom of this pin, which is not a complete point, as we discussed earlier. The length of the pin, this is a 5, and by the way, the 34 means it's a bottom pin. The -3, pardon me, the 34 means it's a pin, or means it's a cylinder part for sure. The 3 means it's a bottom pin. The 05 tells us it is a 5 pin. The 5 pin has a length of 240 thousandths. And if you were to measure this pin overall, you are certainly going to find that it's 240 thousandths overall length. Okay. I mentioned that the effective plug diameter was 0.5. Well, there is a chart on there called root depth. So the root depth cut of a 5 is 0.26. If I took that key blank and I measured from the bottom of the blade to the bottom of the cut with a caliper for a 5 cut, it's going to be 0.26. So what do I need to get to 0.5, which is the effective plug diameter? Well, it's the length of a 5 pin, which is 0.24. So all of that conspires to equal what you'd be using the Schlage system. The bottom line is this: if you're using only Schlage cylinders, keys, equipment, and you never encounter anything but Schlage, I wouldn't use a universal kit at all. I would have just a Schlage kit. I would buy Schlage original equipment, and that's what I would do. That key bidding specification page is handy because it shows you the part numbers for the bottom pins, the master pins, and then what they call the top pins or driver pins. There are 3 different driver pin sizes or top pins because the pin stack height, your bottom pin plus any master, plus your top pin needs to equal a value that is approximately correct, because there's a spring on top of all of this, as you may know. You don't want to crush the spring too much by having too big of a top pin, and you don't want it to not be compressed enough so as to properly drive the pins back down when the key is exercised or removed, left out. So having the appropriate size top pin goes with your pin stack, and your pin stack is your bottom pin plus any masters. It's just a fancy term for it. Other springs, other parts are listed on that page as well. So it's a very handy chart to have. Now, if you're a locksmith, this would also serve as a depth and spacing chart as well. You can cut these keys by manual or semi-automatic duplication. You can cut them by code on a code machine. You can also cut them just by the depth and spacing on a machine that will do only that sort of cutting, where just tell me the stop to the first cut, tell me the center of each successive cut, and then tell me the depth. And I can just dial that in and cut appropriately. There's an advantage to using OEM equipment, and that's it. When you're using only a Schlage system, I would highly recommend that you stick just within the Schlage system. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Schlage products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I'm a fan of Schlage not only because it was the first lock line that I truly familiarized myself with, but also because of the quality of the product. Not all of their product am I a fan of, but their grade 1 cylindrical knobs, their deadbolts are really industry-leading quality products. But they also do a great job with their residential material as well, offering good quality, the ability to have a system within the Schlage family of keys, and backed by excellent, deep inventory stock of available parts, but mostly because of the technical support that I personally receive from the factory, which is indispensable. That link to the manufacturer's page will show you all the Schlage products we sell, the link to the manufacturer's catalog, and several encyclopedic documents, including the product catalog, and then, of course, the manufacturer's website. Any questions on the Schlage 34-305 number 5 bottom pin or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.